Kareem Hassan, a respected hotel manager, and Layla, the daughter of one of Dubai's most powerful sheiks, lived in two very different worlds. Yet when their paths crossed inside the glittering halls of the Al Zahra Hotel, a forbidden love ignited that would shatter lives. Their secret affair promised escape and freedom, but in a city where honor and power ruled above all else, their choices carried deadly consequences. What began as passion in hidden rooms ended in betrayal, silence, and blood, a story that still haunts Dubai's shadows today. The Al Zahra Hotel in Dubai glimmered like a jewel against the desert sky, its marble floors polished to perfection and its guests arriving in convoys of luxury cars. Inside this world of extravagance worked Kareem Hassan, the hotel's manager, who had built a reputation for precision and charm. He carried himself with the discipline of a man who knew every detail mattered, from the folded napkins in the dining hall to the way a guest was greeted at the door. To most, Kareem was simply a hard-working man devoted to his career, but behind his calm exterior lingered a quiet loneliness that no one seemed to notice. His life revolved around the hotel, the endless cycle of managing staff, handling wealthy clients, and protecting the establishment's spotless name. It was during one of the grand evening galas that Layla entered his world. She was the daughter of Sheikh Omar, one of the most powerful figures in Dubai, and her presence commanded the room effortlessly. Draped in flowing silk and adorned with diamonds that sparkled brighter than the chandeliers, she carried herself with both confidence and restraint. To the guests, she was untouchable, a symbol of privilege and prestige. But Kareem noticed something others did not. Beneath the polished smile, Layla's eyes betrayed a quiet rebellion, a longing for something far from the scripted life she lived. Their first encounters were polite, almost unremarkable, short exchanges over event arrangements or casual glances across crowded halls. Yet, each meeting left an unspoken connection hanging in the air, a dangerous spark neither of them could fully ignore. Kareem knew the risks. To show interest in the Sheikh's daughter was to invite ruin. But temptation has its own power, and in the golden halls of Al Zahra, a secret attraction began to take root, one that would soon grow far beyond his control. Kareem's life began to split into two worlds, each one more fragile than the other. By day, he was the flawless hotel manager, orchestrating every detail with precision. He walked the polished corridors greeting staff, handled the endless demands of wealthy clients, and ensured the Al Zahra Hotel never lost its shine. Guests praised his professionalism, and employees admired his discipline, never suspecting that beneath the surface he carried a secret heavy enough to destroy him. By night, Kareem lived a life of stolen passion. Layla returned again and again to the hotel, not as a princess shielded by power, but as a woman seeking freedom. Their meetings were hidden carefully, using false reservations and private suites where no one dared to enter. Each encounter bound them closer together. Layla spoke of her life under constant surveillance, her every move dictated by her father's rules. She confessed that the luxury surrounding her was nothing more than a gilded cage, and with Kareem she felt, for the first time, alive. Kareem listened, promising her that she deserved more than a life built on duty. Their bond grew not only from attraction, but from a shared desperation, his for love, hers for freedom. The risk of discovery was always present, yet the danger only fueled their desire. But the hotel was not a place where secrets lasted forever. Staff members began to notice Layla's frequent visits and the way Kareem seemed different whenever she was near. Whispers circulated in hallways and among waiters who exchanged knowing glances. Though no one dared speak openly, suspicion lingered in the air. Kareem felt the weight of those eyes on him, but he convinced himself their love was worth the risk. In a city where power ruled everything, he believed passion could still carve a place of its own. Whispers soon slipped beyond the hotel walls and reached places Kareem had hoped would never hear of them. The name of Sheikh Omar carried immense power, and anything involving his daughter was guarded with an intensity few could comprehend. When rumors reached the Sheikh that Layla was behaving differently, he dismissed them at first, but his instincts told him there was truth hidden beneath the gossip. For a man who valued honor above all else, even the smallest suspicion was enough to spark action. Without Layla knowing, he instructed his most trusted men to follow her discreetly and to watch for any sign of disobedience. It wasn't long before Kareem began to sense the shift. At first, it was subtle. Men he had never seen before began appearing in the hotel lobby, always dressed sharply but never checking in. They lingered for hours, sitting in corners with sharp eyes that never wandered far from him or the entrances. Their presence unsettled the staff, but no one questioned them. Kareem tried to convince himself they were simply guests waiting for someone, yet the truth gnawed at him with every passing day. Layla, too, felt the walls closing in. Whenever she left her family's palace, she noticed unfamiliar cars trailing behind. Her calls to Kareem became more frantic, her voice laced with fear. Despite the danger, she refused to let go of him, clinging tighter to the only piece of freedom she had ever tasted. Kareem, torn between his duty as a hotel manager and his reckless love for her, continued to meet her, believing their secrecy could outwit even the Sheikh's watchful eyes. What neither of them realized was that every move they made was now being tracked, and the illusion of safety was unraveling fast. The pressure around them grew unbearable, forcing Kareem and Layla to face the truth they had avoided for too long. Their secret was no longer safe, and every meeting risked exposure. In whispered conversations behind locked doors, they began to speak of escape. The idea seemed impossible at first, fleeing Dubai, leaving behind everything they had ever known, but the danger surrounding them left no other choice. Kareem took charge of the plan, relying on his connections in the city's shadows. Through a contact who specialized in forged documents, he arranged for passports and travel papers. The cost was steep, more than he could afford, but Kareem's desperation outweighed his fear. Layla contributed in her own way. From her father's mansion, she secretly gathered priceless jewelry and hidden cash, concealing them in small pouches that could be easily smuggled out. Each stolen item was a risk, but she convinced herself it was worth it for the promise of freedom. Their meetings became hurried and tense, filled with discussions about routes, flights, and safe houses. The dream of a new life together in Europe grew stronger with every detail, yet the reality of their situation cast a heavy shadow. When Kareem's contacts suddenly demanded more money, the fragile plan threatened to collapse. With little choice, Kareem diverted funds from the hotel's accounts, disguising the theft as routine expenses. He believed no one would notice, but the Al Zahra Hotel's finances were watched closely by auditors, and unusual activity did not go unnoticed. As he handed the payment to the forger, a sinking feeling crept into his chest. Every step toward freedom seemed to bind them tighter to danger. Their escape was set in motion, but unseen eyes were already following the trail they thought they had hidden. The night of their escape arrived heavy with tension, every detail rehearsed in Kareem's mind until it felt like destiny. Layla slipped away from her family's palace under the cover of darkness, dressed in simple clothes that disguised her status. In her small bag, she carried the stolen jewelry, the money, and the false documents that were meant to buy them freedom. Kareem waited anxiously in the staff parking lot of the hotel, his heart racing with equal parts hope and fear. The plan was to leave immediately for the airport, board a private flight arranged through the forger, and disappear into Europe before dawn. But fate intervened with ruthless precision. As Layla stepped into the lot and moved toward Kareem's car, the silence shattered. A convoy of black SUVs swarmed around them, their engines growling like predators closing in on prey. Before Kareem could react, armed men spilled out, their movements swift and calculated. Layla was seized and pulled away, her bag ripped from her hands, the sound of her cry echoing against the concrete walls. Kareem fought desperately, but he was no match for men trained and loyal to power. His resistance only earned him brutal blows, each one driving home the reality that his fate had already been decided. The Sheikh's men dragged Layla back into one of the vehicles, silencing her screams behind tinted glass. Kareem was forced into another car, beaten until his vision blurred. The dream of escape, of a life built on love and freedom, dissolved in a single night. Hours later, Layla was back under lock and guard in her family's palace, while Kareem was taken to a place where no one would hear his cries. The world outside would never know the truth of what happened that night. Layla awoke in her father's palace the morning after the failed escape, surrounded not by freedom but by the cold weight of control. Every trace of her rebellion had been erased overnight. Her bag of jewelry and documents was gone, her phone confiscated, and her movements restricted to a handful of guarded rooms. Servants avoided her gaze, either too afraid or too loyal to offer sympathy. The palace, once a symbol of luxury, now felt like a prison with walls too high to scale and doors locked from the outside. News of Kareem's fate reached her in fragments. The official story was that he had drowned after a late-night swim near Dubai Creek, his body washing ashore days later. The newspapers printed the story without question, framing it as a tragic accident. But Layla knew the truth. She had seen the brutality of her father's men, had heard Kareem's cries as he was taken away. The accident was nothing more than a carefully crafted lie meant to silence suspicion and protect her family's honor. His name was scrubbed from the hotel records, his death spoken of only in hushed tones among staff who feared punishment for asking too many questions. Her father offered no explanation, only punishment. To restore the family's image, he arranged her marriage to a wealthy businessman whose reputation was spotless. Layla had no choice in the matter. Her protests met with silence and her tears ignored. At the wedding, her jeweled smile hid a heart fractured beyond repair. To the world, she appeared as the obedient daughter, restored to her rightful place in society. In reality, she carried the ghost of Kareem in every glance, every memory, every night spent staring at the locked windows of her gilded cage. Freedom was gone, and with it, the only man she had ever loved. Years passed, yet the memory of Kareem never faded from the corridors of the Al Zahra Hotel. Among the staff, his story became legend, whispered in quiet corners as a warning about the cost of forbidden love. New employees were told never to question why a manager once so respected vanished overnight, or why his name was never spoken aloud by those in power. The official story of an accidental drowning was repeated often, but no one believed it. Those who had witnessed the strange men in the lobby or noticed Layla's sudden disappearance from public life knew there was more than the newspapers dared to print. Layla's life turned into a carefully staged performance. She traveled beside her husband, attended charity events, and smiled for photographers, her image crafted to reflect perfection. Yet behind the facade, her spirit was hollow. Some said she was seen staring out of limousine windows, her eyes fixed on nothing, lost in a world of memories. Others whispered she occasionally slipped away at night in disguise, visiting the cemetery where Kareem was buried, leaving flowers that vanished by morning. Whether these stories were true or not, no one could say with certainty, but they gave voice to the grief she could never express. For the city, the affair remained a rumor buried beneath layers of silence. Power had smothered the truth, ensuring that justice would never come. But for those who remembered Kareem, his fate lingered like an open wound, a reminder that in a world ruled by wealth and honor, love was the most dangerous crime of all. Layla lived on, her days filled with duty and her nights with ghosts, carrying a story that would never be told in the light, but whispered forever in the shadows of Dubai.